been struggling. Let's dive into the draft and see whether that means anything at all as we get into this series. DK on blue side going to be important as the Yone going to be taken away from BDD. But there are a lot of things to bear in mind. And I think that the Taliyah situation is going to be a big deal between these two because I think BDD has been outperforming Showmaker on that particular pick quite considerably.
Yep, I would say so for sure. I think it's really been it's been a great pick for everyone, but in particular BDD has had such a massive impact on it. I think Cuz as well in the jungle, you know, Lucid earlier in the season was having some really standout performances because it's just been absolutely on fire. Round 2, Cuz has, I would argue, been the best performing jungler, which is crazy to say, but he has been on fire. So Trundle going to see a ban from DPLUS. Zinzao going to get banned in response. Rumble taken out of the equation as well.
Very
denied from Perfect, which is a pick he does tend to lean towards.
It's been pretty good on it, but I think Shiv probably wouldn't mind that matchup. The Trundle being banned away means that I can't help but think it's going to be a Sion first pick, which is worrying. I don't know about Perfect's ability to, oh, well, now it's definitely looking like a Sion angle, but Taliyah left up and available. And that is what Showmaker is going to be considering, at least to start us off. I was wondering about the whole Nidalee top fiasco scenario, but I don't know whether Perfect is going to be one of those players. I wouldn't put it past Sheer, though, to try his hand at that champion.
Yeah, so they are going to lock in Taliyah, which I think is the right call. Denying it away from BDD, securing that also means Azir priority drops down. I think, though, KT could just go, like, Wukong Ahri. They could secure those. I don't think you need to take the Ahri right now, but that's a sort of combination that's worked pretty well into the Taliyah.
Yep.
You could even go rotation like Sion Wukong right now. Would feel pretty good in this situation. You could also go Sion Pantheon if you're a little worried about Pantheon Taliyah being something you're going into. But I think going Sion jungle here makes a lot of sense. If you want to keep your cards a little close to your chest, so you could just go like Sion Ahri. We've seen Ahri be like the go-to pick into the Taliyah in general, able to kind of play the matchup pretty well and has enough mobility just to kind of ult around to unravel the earth quite comfortably.
See what Cuz decides he wants to do here. As we're hovering over BDD, maybe considering the fact that he could be locking in his pick, but instead the Wukong going to be taken away. And you mentioned the Pantheon, I think that should be coming in here for Lucid. He has shown great prowess on the champion, but I think that Wukong and oh, never mind, it might be the Poppy. But Wukong and Pantheon have been a little bit interchangeable as far as teammates for the Taliyah.
Yep, I think the combination really strong with that point and click, but yeah, I think Taliyah Wukong strong, but Taliyah Pantheon, definitely a really powerful combo. They will go for the Poppy though. A lot of ability to disengage when a Wukong does dive in. There is some outplay potential if you can use the Warrior Trickster effectively, but still not the easiest to play into and just limit options with some of the rest of the team composition for KT.
He's doing it again. 4th time's the charm here for DK, perhaps, as the Alawi being hovered for way longer than it was last time. And I don't know whether to be worried or excited. Less excited about this, to be perfectly honest. Cho'Gath, of course, pretty good at being an anti-tank. Ambassa is just a late-game menace. Yeah,
I mean, this is a pick for Shiwu. Definitely not a pick we've seen have too much success, especially with the nerfs that have come in, but one that Shiwu has a lot of confidence in. They opt not to go for the Ahri, which pairs really well with the Wukong. Maybe thinking that despite that combo being strong, a lot of anti-dive tools from DPLUS, instead going for that Rise.
Yeah. The anti-dash as well, and the fact that Rise gets around it by proccing Phase Rush and just running almost as fast as a dash is kind of the way to mitigate some of the issues. Dr. I'm going to be a little bit more worried about this Poppy Taliyah combination, as he's not going to be dashing around. He's just going to try and tell Aiming that he's not allowed to dash around either.
Yep. Interesting they banned the Rakan. Like, to me, Rakan Wukong is really strong. It's a really popular combination. But I think Rakan is borderline unplayable into Taliyah Poppy. Yeah. Like, that is nightmare fuel, that matchup. So I think that's
could just play it himself, right?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a throwaway ban, personally. And to me, I feel like blue side, the really popular bans in the second rotation are Senna Alistar at the moment. And now one of them is going to be left available, so we'll see what they opt to take away in this situation.
And Dr. really wants to get his hands on Ezreal, is what it feels like to me as well.
Ezreal will be really good here as well, so we'll see what they actually look towards in this situation.
Man, there's a lot of things. I think the 5th ban Senna has been so incredibly popular, and that is going to come through again. But now Alistar up, Ezreal up, there's a lot of things here for KT to pick. Beryl getting Alistair like B5 is a possibility here, though, with how important getting your hands on an Ezreal is going to be.
Yeah, I think you have options in this situation. I think it depends whether you want to prioritize your AD carry here, or if you do want to secure that Alistair. Looks like they are going to prioritize the AD carry. Ezreal obviously super comfortable into this Talia and Poppy, and if you end up going the Alistair, a bit of a harder time dealing with an Ezreal compared to other AD carry picks. And you also have that kind of pick for support, giving you a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, KT pretty comfortable with how things have panned out.
There's also the fact that Aiming can go for this matchup that we've seen that he likes quite a lot, and they can flex the Poppy into support if that's something that they'd want to do as well.
Yep. Kai'Sa Poppy was super popular earlier in the season, so they do have that option. Looks like they're going to go for the Kai'Sa Neeko, though. I think it makes sense, because if you do go something like Kai'Sa Nord, Kai'Sa Alistair, a lot more opportunity to punish in the lane matchup. Kai'Sa Neeko a bit harder to punish in the 2v2.
And do you sacrifice the lane and just lock in Alistair here?
I think you could, honestly. I think you can still play the lane out pretty comfortably, and you get so much value by going that Alistair later in the game. I think it's still worth it. The lane's not that unplayable. Like, yes, you're going to lose a little bit of prio into the Neeko, but I think it just gives you so much power in the team fights, having like this Sion, Wukong, Alistair frontline. I think you take that trade.
And I think KT, that we're going to be getting that 3-game series that so many of us have wanted, as some synergy actually between the Poppy, Kai'Sa, and Ambessa. I actually kind of like that, the vibes that they have going on at the moment. There's the KT roster that we did see. Interesting. Let's have a look at how it's going to go as we jump onto the Rift for Game 1 of this tiebreaker. Okay, there's a few more KT fans in the building. That is a very, very loud cheer. Hopefully no one is getting overly enthusiastic about their feelings towards this series, because already KT have a pretty nice draft, and that's sometimes boded well for KT. Sometimes it's bit them in the behind.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's all looking pretty good for KT.
Yeah.
How anxious are you? I'm pretty anxious, personally.
I still think, you know, it's still that's set up a little bit for DPLUS. It's still playable for DPLUS, right?
Oh yeah.
Let's still wait. Let's downplay.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
What are DK trying to do in this game?
Well, I think the thing is, DPLUS have great ability to lead into the side lanes, right? They have Talia, who obviously, you know, you can get prior, you can lean towards the sides with that Weaver's Wall, and also Poppy, even though Sion can sometimes be trickier to dive with the fact that he has the passive, the fact that he has a shield and the Q. You know, Poppy is so good at diving side lanes. You're going to have prio on the bot lane with the Neeko into the Alistair. If you find a opportunity just to slam into the wall, easy to set up a play on the back of that.
All right, I like it. I'm feeling better about DK's chances, which means that we feel better about this being a more competitive series. Showmaker going to hit level 2 first, and currently doing okay. And I did talk about the fact that we feel like BDD has been doing better on this Talia than Showmaker in past weeks. Showmaker's last performance on this champion was fantastic.
Yep.
So ramping up towards this tiebreaker could be something worth mentioning. We'll see whether Showmaker is going to have another pop-off performance, because a lot of people have been pretty critical of this guy. As you mentioned, you were talking about the 2-time world champ. The 1-time world champ is also one that people have been pretty critical of.
Yeah, BDD 7-0 on Rise, though, so far this season.
Oh, man, we were talking about Vikla trying to hold on to his perfect record. BDD's had it the whole time.
Yeah, he's kept it going, and is hoping to continue that now. No surprise, though, we can see Barrel and Aiming shoving in here. Now Lucid looking to challenge.
I feel like that Neeko went a lot further than it otherwise should.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. A little bit of a helicopter there as Lucid is going to come on over. Full vision of Cuz, as he is just going to be taking his grump from the comfort of this brush. I think pretty aware of the fact that there was a ward in there. As On Vision is going to sneak away. That was a little bit cute, but not really going to get too much out of it.
So it does mean we will see that blue buff stolen away, but not too much of consequence is going to actually happen here. We'll get a reset coming out from Cuz, and maybe going to try and get towards the other side of the map and get the Scuttle. We'll notice that Lucid hasn't actually done his blue side jungle yet, so if he can move over, take the Scuttle, and shut out Cuz, does have an opportunity to get ahead. You can see Cuz kind of realizing what's happening. Doesn't really have anything to do now on the map for the time being.
Yeah, not unless he does try to contest, but he's not going to be contesting for this particular Rift Scuttler. And they see him on vision as well. Perfect with a nice little knock-up onto Shiu, but so far, a little bit of a Lucid masterclass as far as the jungle is concerned. Double Scuttle 3 buff is certainly not fantastic, as we do have Cuz just searching for a Raptor camp that he could possibly get his hands on. And oh dear, there's the flash slam, and Beryl going to hold him in position. That's first blood, and it goes over to Showmaker, who actually flashed for it as well, just to guarantee that they have that extra money in the mid lane.
And you can see how so much of this has been about denying from Cuz.
Yeah.
And how instead of, again, Lucid just clearing through his camps, he's like, no, I know what Cuz is going to do. He has nothing else to do on the map. He's going to come for these Raptors. We're going to set up a trap.
Forced his hand is what it feels like. There's now a phase rush. Proc there by BDD gets out of the way of Beryl. But so far here on this top side, things not really doing too much of anything at all. So KT not the best start, as we can see. And if this snowball starts a rolling, could be rough times. As Doctarm heads up towards his top side, and Shiu's in a lot of trouble. Perfect, trying to get after him here as the flashes are available for both of these top laners. Shiu going to hold on to his and get himself out. No one burning any summoners, but at least, you know, Shiu a little bit scared of KT, I guess, as a result of that one. And there are gold leads across the board here for DK. I don't know who it was. Someone may have gotten E-word about this series. Might have been something. There's a nice little knock up there for Perfect as he teleports towards the bottom side. And everything's kind of chilling. You were right there, Ox. You were doing a little bit of dying before.
I am doing a little bit of dying.
I thought we should probably just be honest about it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just started coughing, and then I started sneezing, and then I started coughing and sneezing, and then sneezing and coughing.
Oh
and
no, not sneezing.
Maybe I got too excited. Maybe that's my problem, okay? I'm not sure.
As long as you're taking the excitement away from KT, that's probably better for the evening out of the broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be okay with it.
It's just overwhelming, you know? So
I can understand.
So caught up in the emotion of the moment.
You might make me sneeze as well. Is sneezing kind of like yawning, where it's like contagious? Or is it only contagious because of the fact that you can catch a cold off other people? All right, Peter going to find a headbutt pulverize here onto Shiu, who's continuing to have a little bit of trouble here on this top side of the map. But just trying to stay in experience range as best he can. And Perfect doing a little bit better as far as that is concerned. 700 gold in it, but Dragon going to be taken here by DK. And we have about a minute on the clock before the grubs do spawn. BDD and Peter over here towards the top side. And yeah, Perfect not really going to be too bothered about much of anything. He gets on top of Doctarm. This could be a little dangerous as he does use the barrier. Manages to weave that particular Mystic Shot quite nicely. But no True Shot Barrage, and Shiu going to be absolutely fine. Okay. I'm just going to continue talking here, ladies and gentlemen. We do have Orc sorting himself out. He is going to be okay, all right? He's going to be okay. Clearing his throat, getting ready.
Okay, I think I'm okay for now. But
all right?
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Just say something like timeout real quick, and then I can hop in.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure that we stay honest, because I don't want people to, you know, get the wrong idea, like I'm just hogging the mic or something like that. I would never do something like that, guys.
Yeah, I mean, if we hadn't said it, it would have been really funny if people just thought, wow.
Wow, Atlas just won't let him talk.
Yeah, just, you know, I thought this was the double A broadcast, not the single A broadcast.
Yeah, no, this is just a broadcast.
Yeah, which, you know, there's a lot of A broadcasts, but
yeah. All right, Wolf going to come in here as Beryl, I think, may have got out. Aiming does use the Killer Instinct to create some distance, and Cuz can't lock him down for long enough. Really nicely played here by DK. The split-second decision-making to make Beryl get out. Aiming led them in the wrong direction and then has the Killer Instinct in order to escape. Beautifully done. DK going to use this in order to try and get themselves some grubs, but KT not wanting to give this one up. Peter at level 5. Not going to be too scary on this cow, but Do manage to get one of the smites, and Lucid might even be able to get more here as Cuz is moving over. Showmaker avoids one of the Qs here from BDD as they get Lucid and Beryl out of the area, and it looks like KT will be able to slurp up the remaining grubs that are left.
Yep. Looking a little bit cautious about this one though. Cuz doesn't have a smite available yet. Looks like they're trying to wait for the cooldown. Yeah. Beryl has so much aura right now, just zoning them off.
Yeah,
and they will force them away.
Yeah, gave Lucid and Showmaker time to come over here, and Lucid will be able to... Oh, almost! Almost!
1 HP for a second there.
Yeah, Doctor not able to get it with the Mystic Shot. I believe the little Void Mites were blocking it anyway.
You can see how hesitant KT were, you know, especially a lot of those big ults on cooldown.
No. That's a -1.
Oh no.
Things are really going downhill for KT right now.
Yeah, the lack of Cyclone, the fact that Cuz is behind, they were very tentative with that play. In the end, they get the 1 grub, but the credit for the feature strength goes over to DPLUS. Yep, they have those two. They have the Mountain Dragon in pocket, so things going solid. The only real area where KT's got an advantage right now is in that top lane with Perfect with a pretty solid CS lead, which is nice, but it'll take a while really to cash in on that silence advantage.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I feel like KT, it is more of an investment composition, right? DK with a little bit more power early. And KT probably waiting for a couple of items on their Ezreal. Maybe, you know, the 2 big ones for BDD as well, in the Seraphs and the Rod of Ages. And then they're going to be ready to fight around this big Scion. Can be that front line. They don't have a massive amount of range, but I don't think it's too much of an issue here outside of Showmaker, perhaps. And even then, Doctor will be able to match that quite nicely. So a little bit more just wait and see here for KT. All right, Doctor and Peter parking in the mid lane. And it looks like business as usual once again, but we will see.
Dragon in a minute, and already, I mean, you look at the minimap, and look at the vision setup that DPLUS have in the river. Going to be difficult for KT really to contest this if they don't find a way to push in. And you see Cuz moving up towards the top side of the map to clear his grubs. They might just not even opt to contest this. If they're not already moving to start to clear out these wards, I'm not sure they're going to get a look in.
Yuntiles is now completed here for aiming as well. Heading towards item number 1, feeling pretty happy as DK about their position in this game. 1.3k, something like that, is going to be their advantage, but no feats of strength locked down, no first turret just yet, and KT just wanting to get to a pretty honest game of League of Legends as we move further forward. I'm really interested in how she is going to do on this Ambessa. I feel like Ambessa really has been a death sentence for so many of our teams.
Yeah. I mean, especially into a comp like this, I feel like you might just get blended the second you go in.
Yeah, right?
A lot of stuff that can just CC you, and then, you know, she's one of these champions that kind of feels really hard to kill until she's held in place and then dies pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. The public execution, but not for you, is kind of what we've been seeing for a lot of these Ambessa players. As Beryl pretending to be aiming for a moment. They know that that particular Kaiser is not aiming them because he just used his supercharger.
You know, it feels bad to give over a dragon here for KT. They have managed to regain some control of the area. But look at the items on KT and tell me you'd want to fight this.
Yeah, let's not.
Like the Phage Sheen on both Wukong and Ezreal, the Catalyst tier on Rise.
They're going to have a very good positional advantage if they want to take this. And you can see they're not even going to be starting it up. There's Beryl moving over. Doctor trying to throw some abilities around as they do get vision control once again. And Perfect with teleport available is going to be very dangerous if you can actually get into the fight. And as you can see, KT actually starting to feel like maybe they have an angle. Aiming, catching the wave. This could be the opportunity, especially with Lucid on the Raptors. So it looks like DK are actually going to give this one up.
Yeah, not opting into the fight, not looking to contest them, which honestly, I think KT getting this kind of daylight robbery.
Yeah.
I think really happy with that. Okay, guys, in my defense,
yeah,
I was coughing, I was sneezing a lot, you know, hard to focus.
Yeah, there we go. And it's a, yeah, so that's the Chemtech, the situation that you're talking about there.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think that does make some sense. So, unfortunately, it's going to be a Chemtech soul, but I do think Chemtech isn't quite as bad as you'd otherwise think. There's a Poppy in the game. She absolutely loves Chemtech. And Scion as well. Pretty psyched about it. So no harm, no foul. And it's only ever the second one that we have issue with, okay? So if there's a second Chemtech Soul and we've got one best of 3 today, Orcs, then you've been distracted by the coughing that you've had.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe the coughing is because I was playing Pokemon earlier and I was actually running a Wheezing deck.
Oh my, so it's your fault.
It's probably my fault. That's my bad. There's a new Pokemon that came out that buffed poison damage. And it's pretty cool.
Well, it worked.
Yeah. Apparently it hit my co-caster. You really got to watch out for friendly fire when playing Pokemon card games, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we're going to take away from today. That and another member of the Legend group. And right now, it's looking like it is, you know, DK in a little bit of control, but are they in enough control?
I don't think
look, Sion moves towards immortality.
I'm going to be real. There is never going to be a point in this series
when we think any one team is going to win?
That any one team is ever in enough control, okay? There is always going to be some doubt. There is always going to be some question marks. In this game currently, I think it's been a good start for DPLUS. I think some good proactive moves they made early. They did allow KT to equalize in terms of Drakens, but...
Oh, okay, so this is going to be the plan. We only ever talk about what has happened and what is happening. That is our rule right now. So we will do no predicting of what's going to happen in the future. Because right now, Peter, headbutt pole onto a clone. That is what happened. And aiming, diving forward here towards Dr. as well. Does need to be a little careful, but does just walk his way out. Teleport towards the top lane for Showmaker. And Arakan still 5 minutes away. But we have a Rift Herald that we might be starting up as Lucid's going to move over. They sweep the pit. You can see KT in the area, in position. They get that ward over the wall. Everything looking kind of okay. You were talking about the items before with the very sad Sheen Phage situation. Now it's double Trinity Force, which is going to be a lot happier here for KT. Peter going to be attempting to back, but does just move on out of there. Showmaker clears up the wave. Perfect Chiyu continuing to fight. So it's just business as usual right now towards this bottom side. Soul Furnace up there for perfect. True Shot Barrage is going to spot that this is happening. And DK just going to be taking this one away. So that is going to be feats of strength of the objective department. Secured here by DK.
Good pickup from them, and still continuing to have some control. Some control. Is it enough? We don't know.
Nope.
But some level of control, definitely.
They have put their position in this game to be better than it was prior.
That is a safe statement. I'm glad we're sticking with the safe statement.
That's all we can do.
Game. That's all. That's the limit. That's the limit of what we're willing to do.
Yep.
In this situation.
It's DK and it's KT. We're at risk of cursing. It got to the point where we had to actually get rid of Chronicler. We sent him back to the Netherlands just for a week because he's been doubting the curses, hasn't been respecting them quite as much. There is the charge from Shelly. That's going to be able to take down the outer turret in the mid lane, and that's feats of strength going over to DK as a result. Very, very nicely done. So yes, just needed to make sure that we avoid the curses. So I hope you're doing okay there, Chronicler. I don't know what time it is in Europe. Do you know what time it is in Europe right now?
It is...
I guess you wouldn't know because you're from the UK.
It's 10:25. Because I have, on my phone, I have the UK time.
Oh yeah, but don't you need to translate? Ah, it's add an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that didn't... fair enough. It all makes sense now. That's all right. Still early, but I imagine he's probably watching DK versus KT. So sign off in the chat, Chronicler.
Yep. I mean,
and
he's
remember,
he's the sort of person to wake up early.
Curses are real. He is that kind of person.
He's that sort of guy.
I'm checking in. I didn't actually have the chat running though for the last little while, so if he was speaking, then I don't know. All right, hope he's there. Anyway, Lucid and Beryl now just trying to get some control around this third Drake of the game. 2 seconds until the Chemtech Dragon does land. And I'm feeling it. There's a team fight of brewing. Surely. Lucid taking a little bit of damage here, but he's Poppy. Doesn't really care about it too much. As Cuz avoids the Void Seeker. Peter already with the Unbreakable Will, and DK just going to kite that one out. Now Cuz could be in trouble. Flash out of the way of the Pop Blossom as the Weaver's Wall comes through, but It's a little bit of a funky timing there as the seismic shove pulls perfect over the wall. True Shot Barrage doing so much damage though on Lucid, just gonna get taken out by KT. Now Peter flashing away, the seismic shove will be avoided. The Scion is extraordinarily low, but able to walk his way out, and the only kill to go over so far is that one onto Lucid. Shio able to get himself out as well, and holds on to the flash, and I think that might be enough here for KT.
Very scrappy fight there, and it looked like maybe Peter committed a little bit too much on the start of the fight, losing his Unbreakable Will, losing a lot of health, but in the end, the TP comes in for perfect, and he's just so damn tanky. Lucid ends up going down with the jungler gone. It ends up being KT coming out ahead. You see here, they try and pick Cuz, but the ult flash away, keeping him alive. And then Lucid, you know, they try to make the pick on a perfect here, but he's just so hard to cut through. Lucid takes so much damage in return, ends up going down here. Shiwu also, in comparison, like he's full HP. Look how low Perfect is in comparison to Shiwu. And yet Perfect can walk up and Shiwu can't.
Yeah.
In comparison.
It's a little bit of a shame when that is the case. The control of the Banana Brush. We've been talking about it quite a lot. Speaking of talking, might need to do some more here as Lucid trying to steal away these Raptors. He's not going to find too much joy. KT still playing defense. Close to a 2,000 gold lead remains for DK. Because, of course, they did manage to get that first turret. It was only one kill going over to KT. But KT having a dragon lead with a composition like this is certainly a very scary thing. There's aiming, holding on to this mid lane. And we'll be able to get that one shoved through. So is it a situation where DK are kind of on the clock to make a move? Or do you think that they will be able to utilize this Kai'Sa to cut down the Scion later in the game and just divide and conquer with things like the Poppy ult?
I think it's...
All right, BDD going to be just flashing immediately. A lot of respect towards Lucid, and I think that is warranted as well.
I think it gets really hard late in the game. It's not like impossible, but I think like the Scion, we've seen it be so strong, and like yes, Kai'Sa with enough time and like later in the game can eventually shred through him, but like Kai'Sa Alistar is such a strong front line, and you have like Ryze is going to be really strong in the later stages of the game. I just think they're going to struggle, you know, if we do hit a certain point in time. But again, it's not impossible, especially if you like pick BDD or Duckdam, like,
yeah.
You know, these are the two primary carries for the composition. If one of them makes a mistake at like 35 minutes in the game, you can still win. But I think that odds are going to go against them the longer this game goes. And right now, KT, they have those two dragons in pocket. Yes, they're down in gold, but...
Oh, it is the real barrel. Pop Blossom comes through, it lands onto 3, but there's no one to follow it up as aiming does come in. I told a lie as the Kai'Sa is able to get there just in time. Peter in trouble, and that is a little late on the ulti as Cuz going to get wiped out as well. True Shot Barrage going to find the middle of the posts. 6 points in AFL, and maybe DK could turn this into something. It looks like the Otacon is not something they want to risk right now. Phenomenal bait from the two-time world champion.
Looks like an easy pick, right? Low-level support champion is squishy, I put in quotation marks, because it's this Nico, but actually so hard to take down.
Doctom finding a lot of buttons here, but instead we'll find a turret shot. Probably doesn't want to hit that one as the flash forward. The barrier is instant, and that allows Doctom to survive. Man, you take those shots, though, every time there from Showmaker. You love to see it.
Yeah, we'll say, though, Doctor, I'm going to be pretty happy with the summoner trade, right? Barrier for flash feels good, but they look for Beryl here. Celestial opposition soaks so much damage. The ult buys time. He's actually a lot tankier than you think because of how much help the Rocket Bell gives. And Cuz and Peter take so much damage in return. The cleanup comes in for the rest of the team. And in the end, a bit of an oopsie from KT there, giving over a decent amount of gold.
Yeah.
But fortunately, doesn't translate into an objective. But now a 4,000 gold lead in favor of DPLUS, and suddenly things looking a lot more in their favor.
Absolutely is. I feel like there is a breaking point. It's probably around like 4,000 or 5,000 gold. And that is where we're hovering for the moment. It's KT going to have to be very, very careful. Next Dragon, 1 minute's time. The Baron going to be up in 2. And I think KT going to be very happy about the fact that they were able to take that last Dragon. Might be holding them in this game for now.
Yep.
But those 2 item spikes we were talking about have come in. BDD does collect both his Seraphs and his Rod of Ages. 8 stacks on the Rod so far, so only a couple of minutes to go before that one is going to be fully charged. But having a look at the money here, it's exactly where DK wanted. Showmaker and aiming, both of them with stacks of cash.
Yeah, I think as well, if you get to the point where Aiming could just ult in on the Ezreal and take him out of the equation, things get so much easier.
Yeah.
And you're really approaching that point now, especially like Doctor's on his 2-item spike. This is really where Ezreal is thriving, strongest point of the game, really for him. Aiming is closing in on that Infinity Edge on this Crit Kai'Sa build. Oh no!
The flash in, it's a decent buffer, but he's still knocked up into the air and taken down by Aiming. There's that assassination you were talking about as perfect. Rethinks his decision immediately and gets the heck out of dodge. Xiu, in the meantime, here on this top side of the map, will be taking out a turret, and DK will be able to even out the Dragons as a result. Oh no, this lead continuing to balloon.
Yep, and honestly, for Doctor, that just really shouldn't be happening. As an Ezreal getting caught out by a Poppy like that, you had Summoners, you had Flash available. Should have been able to escape that. If you flash before the headbutt connects, then, you know, Aiming can't ult onto you.
Yeah.
We'll see the time that came in. Like, he has vision of Lucid, just way too slow.
Yeah.
And then it allows Aiming to get in.
Yeah.
And the fact you flash afterwards, like, you're already dead.
That's the problematic part. Gets perfect splash at the same time, paying for Doctor's sins. And Doctor was a player that was rapidly improving throughout the last few weeks. This is sort of signs of the old Doctor that we were seeing a little bit earlier on. A lot of people were very critical of. See whether he can get it together. As the Baron is going to be spawning. Bit of a Hex Splash over here from Lucid, who is going to scout out the enemy jungle.
I think the thing for me,
putting a lot of things on cooldown here.
Oh, man.
Oh, this is going to be so sad, isn't it? As Pop Blossom comes in, that is just going to look to steal away a red. So the Mega Cone, that was a lot of fun there from Beryl. And of course, Chemtech Rift and Nico is something that we saw BDD experimenting with, if you remember. He tried the Mega Cone Pop Blossom to, and it didn't quite work.
Looks like Beryl's been practicing a little bit.
Yeah. Nailing that last one.
And at this point, I mean, Oh.
Okay, we're just looking for Xiu. They're going to see whether they can lock him down. Does get slowed up by the Rune Prison, but otherwise just flashes and dashes away.
Yeah, the fact as well, BDD commits the flash to try and make that happen. Try to make these practice plays work, but it just feels like KT kind of scrambling at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Pose is so far behind. The AD carry matchup starting to feel really bad at this point.
And I felt like in the draft, KT had so many answers, but DK have really shown so much mastery on making this composition work exactly when it needed to. And now aiming, he's got an Infinity Edge. Like this Kai'Sa is going to be a huge problem. And KT just not looking like the better team in this particular game. Cuz having a rough start, you can tell it is really problematic for KT, as Cuz has been one of the biggest sources of success here for KT.
Yeah, and I mean, as well, the fact that Cuz has just been shut out this game completely. We saw like the amount of effort Lucid was putting in to keep this Wukong down. BDD hit this Rod of Ages level up, and he's still behind in XP compared to Showmaker. It's just been kind of a masterclass from DPLUS. I had concerns, hey, how are you going to deal with the Scion? If you start to fall behind, are you going to have some problems going into this composition? They're smooth sailing so far. This is the level of play we need from DPLUS. It is game one, though, and we've seen DPLUS have good game ones before and then struggle to keep the pressure up in the series. But for now, this is enough. They are looking to start up the Arakan.
There are a lot of people on the other side of the map.
Yeah, this is a bold play to put two members here, so they could potentially threaten BDD, and Aiming could fly in and look to assassinate him while the rest of them pressure Arakan. And now KT, it's kind of like a split focus. They're committing to the Arakan now.
Yeah, and it is going to be Showmaker going back. He can teleport in as BDD towards his top side clears out the wave. Lucid in the area with his ultimate available as the Arakan's down to 50%. Xiu standing on top of a ward. The flash pulverize comes in from Peter as a public execution comes down just to get him out of dodge. There is the wall coming through as Beryl finds one with the Pop Blossom, but he takes so much damage. The Scion's already dead though. Zombie mode coming on through, but KT, their health bars are just evaporating as the seismic shove after the flash from Showmaker is so good. Realm Warp to try and get them out, but the follow is instantly there. And DK massacre KT in the team fight, and they'll get the Arakan as a reward.
Feels like DPLUS just playing with their food. Let them start up the Arakan. They turn on a Shiu, unable to take him out, and then the cleanup is swift and decisive. DPLUS get the boon, but they also get all the kills to boot, and now the game firmly in their control, almost a 10,000 gold lead. Looks like game one will be going to DPLUS. We see it coming out here, Shiu on a ward, but even though they managed to get this initial CC, the public execution is massive to get him away. A few dashes come out, and the follow-up just isn't there. The wall cuts off Dekdam. He comes in, but then we get this follow-up, and I think Showmaker getting this massive shove from the flash here, catching the Ezreal on the back end. Just so well played.
Yeah, everything about this from DK was gorgeously orchestrated. Aiming comes in, held the ultimate until the very end for the cleanup. And they get Otakaran as well from this. It's Otacon and Baron both secured. I'll have to work on the naming. Maybe Otakaran is probably not the way to explain it, but that
like
is
it.
word fusion of the two names,
yeah.
So maybe that's okay. Just let me know how you feel about it, everyone, and if I should just stop saying Otakaran forever, or whether it is kind of cool. It's okay. Cuz just going to get held up into the sky. No Cyclone for you.
0 for 1 for Cuz so far in this game. And he has just been absolutely decimated by DPLUS, by the combined efforts. But Lucid having a fantastic one on this Poppy.
Oh, yeah.
And now pushing up mid.
And now
taking a tower in top lane. They just have no answers.
And this is crazy as well, right? Because the next game is going to look so different. Both Poppy and Talia have been removed. There are a lot of things that both teams are going to need to consider in this draft. Right now, DK looking miles ahead. They, in fact, are. It's 13,000 gold. This is not a small lead at 30 minutes into this game as KT looking at the remains of their base, probably thinking about what to get done in the next game. Soul Point now going to be on the cards just because they may as well, before going for a reset. And then continuing their onslaught of this map. Death's Dance going to be completed here for Shiu, who's going to be joining Rich, most likely, as the second Ambessa to win in this round robin, which is, or in, like, yeah, is it this round robin? I'm pretty sure that's what the stat was. So kind of nutty that he's able to buck the statistics.
It's just one of the few people, I mean, even he doesn't have that great of a win rate on Ambessa. This champion has been struggling, but he's one of the few who makes it look even viable. But it does take some time to get going. Was obviously getting a good amount of value in these fights. But yeah, it just feels like KT not really having the answers right now. And with this much of deficit, there is no answer in this moment. And now,
yeah, speaking of answers, I know that you were on a bit of a roll there, but the answer to the Otakaran situation is
important.
Barakan is actually like way cooler as like half the chat, and the rest are thinking that Otakaran is canon. So it's hard to tell at this point in time. We'll have to figure it out. Maybe
Barakan does sound really cool. Otakaran sounds like...
Perfect went so far, having to go through the turret there as out he goes. Lucid going to get rid of the Scion. That is going to allow them to siege up this last remaining inhibitor turret. And DK looking like they can do no wrong. However, the train is coming on through. Stopping a little short there is perfect. Didn't want to go too deep, as they do manage to at least defend the inhibitor for now. Another wave is coming through. There's no Baron, of course. But DK with so much extra money as a death cap on Showmaker right now. There is 4,000 gold ahead for the Gold King himself as the Pop Blossom connects onto 2. Beryl should be going down here though, as BDD does close that kill. And now, public execution getting Shiu into the backline, but now he's going to get knocked up. Now he might be in trouble as Peter gets in there. Shiu, not actually in trouble, as it turns out, ladies and gentlemen. He's actually tankier than we thought. Lucid, not so much, as Dr. Arm dashing forward. Cuz almost dead to aiming, who Killer Instinct into the base. And there is only one remaining Nexus turret. He might be able to follow these super minions in. The rest of KT are going to back away, and they hold on for now, as their base is in absolute shambles.
Still keeping hopes alive. There is still one inhibitor left, still one Nexus tower. It could be worse, which is not saying much, but the game isn't completely cooked yet. They managed to CC Barrel down. The follow-up's not there on the ultimate.
And again, the public execution comes through. CC comes down on Shiwu, not able to get as much value as you'd hope. And it's just hard to cut through this Sion. You kind of see what we're talking about coming out of the draft. The Sion able to soak so much damage, despite the fact DPLUS are so far ahead, still able to do his job.
Yeah.
And DPLUS seeing how things could have been a lot more difficult if they didn't have such a massive goal lead. 12,000 still, despite that base defense. The game's still heavily in their favor, but having to show some respect towards KT.
Absolutely. And you can see how it could be much better with the fact that KT were able to hold off, even though they are massively behind. Like, it is absolutely absurd. You're also seeing the value of the Kai'Sa in a composition like this. Although, like, in a lot of situations, the Sion will be a blocker for the AD carry, but when she can just sort of fly over the team fight and then kill you, and the Taliyah and Poppy are both on his team, it does mean that if you're low and you're in the back line, you are not safe. As Doctom has done the most damage in the game. Just Ezreal things here, ladies and gentlemen. Just don't know whether it's going to matter, as there is one Nexus turret between DK and a Game 1 victory here in this tiebreaker. Headbutt Pulverize onto Shiu, might be in a little bit of trouble here, but instead, he's able to dash his way out. Lucid, that was a very cute little heroic charge just to get out of the way of the Q from Perfect.
Yeah, it's so difficult. If they lose this third inhibitor, it just feels like the game might be cooked. But we have Baron spawning in 20, Soul in a minute. You don't want to give over either of those, but can you really leave your base at the moment? See a trap being laid here by DPLUS. The Weaver's Wall available to Showmaker.
Well, there it is. It's Perfect that's going to be their target, but he just doesn't really take very much damage, especially if you don't hit him with abilities.
Yeah.
As Baron is going to spawn, that is what DK have been waiting for. I mean, don't throw, go to Baron is probably the play, right? And so that's what they're looking at now. 26 seconds on the Drake, though.
Wait, Shiwu and Showmaker have TPs, and there's a super minion wave pushing in bot.
Oh, God. Okay, well, there's also a pause. And so we'll just not know what's going to be happening here, as the game is at a standstill for now. God, this is such an intense moment as well. I wonder what actually happened. What has actually gone wrong here? Because it looks like it's something to do with the... let's hop back in. Beryl thankfully got his client sorted out, as BDD is like, there is something fishy in the air.
Yeah.
I will perhaps go and defend my base. As KT further away from their Nexus than they've been in the last 6 minutes.
Okay, look at the minimap. There's a control ward.
There are a lot of Showmakers as well.
There's a control ward you see next to the base, just like towards the top inhibitor, a little bit like outside the base of KT. That DPLUS control ward.
Well, Showmaker is just taking...
Oh, it just got reset. It just got moved. Never mind. But there is minions there, so they could TP in. But right now, they are looking towards the Baron KT. DPLUS are in the vicinity as... Yeah, DPLUS are just taking Soul.
Yep. And I don't think that KT had any other choice. As you can see, Lucid, he's like, well, maybe I'll just go win the game. As PDD is doing his very best to just patrol the area to try and keep things sorted out, as, oh dear, Keeper's Verdict going to come down. That is going to get rid of Cuz, as now Peter moving over the Pop Blossom, and Doctom is going to get singled out. DK just running KT around the map right now, as Lucid is going to get the flash out of Peter, but the Weaver's Wall comes down. Flash out from Showmaker. Perfect just trying to hold him in position, but the Perfect execution gets to the back line, and Shiu taking a lot of damage. Perfect able to flash his way out, and PDD is a bit of a raid boss, but he's going to get shoved into the wall and cut down by the Ambassador, and I think this may have been the last gasp. The DPS is now dead for KT, and Cuz just going to be hanging out on his fountain, waiting for this game to be over.
Yep, DPLUS able to take this game pretty convincingly. Strong start to the series in DPLUS fashion, and I think KT, Cuz in particular, having a really rough one on the back of this.
Oh, he really did. That was a big struggle, but DK will come out trumps here in game 9.